In every school, in every class, there's a hierarchy. The front rows for the eager, the middle for the content, and the last bench for the rest of us. Mr. Davis, a stern teacher in his 50s, stands before a summer school class of just 4 students. They are slouched at the very back of a large, empty classroom. Mr. Davis, let's be clear. You are here because the system has failed you, or you have failed the system. Your final project is to demonstrate a core principle of physics. Impress me, or enjoy your summer right here. He leaves. The 4 students look at each other in defeated silence. There was Maya, the artist who saw the world in connections and colors, but found mathematical formulas to be a cruel, gray language. Leo, who could take apart and rebuild any engine in his dad's garage, but couldn't translate that genius onto a written test. Sarah, whose dyslexia made words on a page dance and swirl, making exams a special kind of torture. And Sam, who was just bored, uninterested in being fed information, desperate to discover it instead. They were the last benchers, a title that felt less like a seating arrangement and more like a verdict. Day 1 was silence. They sat on their bench, staring at the blank chalkboard. The assignment was impossible. Day 2 was blame. "This is stupid," Sam muttered. "How are we supposed to demonstrate physics? Draw a diagram of a pulley? Point to gravity? I'm out." He stood to leave. It was Maya who spoke, her voice quiet. "My mom said if I fail this, I can't go to art school." She didn't look up. "She says I need to be practical." Leo kicked the leg of the bench. "I'm practical. I can build a pulley. I just can't write about it." Sarah sighed. "The words on the test, they just don't make sense to me. I know the answers. I just can't find them in the questions." A strange silence fell. For the first time, they weren't just 4 failures. They were 4 people with 4 different reasons for being on that last bench. Sam sat back down. "Okay, so what can we actually do?" The classroom becomes a workshop. Textbooks are pushed aside. Leo brings in tools and scrapwood. Maya starts sketching wildly on a giant notepad. Sarah, a brilliant verbal thinker, directs traffic, explaining momentum and force in plain language. Sam, the problem solver, figures out the sequence, troubleshooting each step. They decided to build a Rube Goldberg machine, a ridiculously complex contraption to perform a simple task. Ringing a bell. It was a disaster. Levers didn't leverage. Dominoes didn't domino. A carefully balanced pendulum swung directly into Leo's face. But something else was happening. Leo's hands, which fumbled with a pen, were magic with a wrench. Maya's artistic, "I designed a beautiful, functional track for a rolling ball." Sarah's unique perspective spotted the flaw in their sequence that everyone else missed. And Sam's restless energy drove them forward, refusing to let them quit. They were failing constantly. But for the first time, failure didn't feel like a verdict. It felt like data, a lesson. They'd laugh, groan, and try again. The last bench was no longer a place of shame. It was their war room. The other summer school students, a handful of others, and Mr. Davis watched, arms crossed, skepticism etched on their faces. In the middle of the room stood their contraption, a chaotic, beautiful, taped-together mess of wood, string, dominoes, and toy cars. "This is a demonstration of physics," Mr. Davis asked, a single eyebrow raised. They nodded, nervous. Maya took a deep breath and released the first ball. It rolled down her beautifully angled ramp, inclined plane. It tipped a domino, transfer of energy, that hit a lever, which launched a toy car, Newton's first law, into a pendulum, potential and kinetic energy, that swung and hit a bucket. The bucket tipped, but instead of landing on the bell, the rope got snagged. The bell didn't ring. The machine stopped, dead. A snicker came from the small audience. Mr. Davis's face was unreadable. Their hearts sank. They had failed. Again. But then Leo stepped forward. He didn't look at the teacher. He looked at his machine. He saw the snag. He understood the physics of it. With a gentle, precise flick of his finger, he nudged the rope. It was the smallest action. The exact right action in the exact right place. The bucket dropped. The bell rang. Ding! The sound echoed in the silent classroom. For a moment, nothing. Then, Mr. Davis began to clap. It wasn't a loud, excited clap. It was slow, deliberate, and filled with a newfound respect. He walked over to the machine, examining the craftsmanship, the creativity, the understanding. "You didn't just demonstrate the principles of physics," he said, his voice low. "You demonstrated the principles of learning." He looked at each of them. "You collaborated. You problem-solved. You applied theory to practice. You persevered. You found a way to make the abstract tangible." He smiled, a rare sight. Some of the brightest minds I've ever known sat on this very bench. They didn't learn by being fed information. They learned by building, creating, and, yes, often failing. Your machine didn't just ring a bell. It proved a point. The four last benchers looked at each other. The labels were gone. The artist, the engineer, the innovator, and the visionary. They weren't failures. They were a team. They had found their intelligence not in spite of their differences, but because of them. The world will always have a front bench, ready to reward those who fit the mold. But the future, the real, groundbreaking, beautiful future, is so often built by those in the back. The ones who see the world differently. The ones who aren't afraid to try, to fail, and to build something nobody has ever seen before. Your seat does not define your potential. Your perspective does. So, build your machine. Ring your bell. The four students are smiling, standing proudly by their contraption. The camera slowly pulls back, focusing on the empty last bench, now looking less like a place of exile and more like a place of possibility. Fade to black.